They're going to go get their Letterman jackets again. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-6 against the Titans since Pat McAfee came up here and did his wrestling announcement. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons since I was a senior in high school.
What's up, Titans fans, and welcome to another edition of Titans Global Podcast. I'm your host, Maximus Titan Fan, and as always with me, my cohort, Link.
Good to be here. Good to see you guys. I know there's a Pac-12 championship going on, but we're here for Titans football, so excited to talk about it. Big divisional matchup this weekend.
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's some interesting things going on in college football this weekend. And I don't know how much weight it really holds on the championship, but I don't want to talk too much about college football because,
Yeah,
like I said, we're a professional football podcast. However, college does weigh on us a little bit because we draft from it. But, other than that, we'll just leave it at that until after this weekend.
that's right.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, we're looking forward to the Indianapolis Colts, and we're going to look at their stats plus a little bit of Titan stats, where they rank in the NFL. We're going to talk a little bit about Will Levis. Then we're going to talk a little bit about some other players, and then we're going to some comments, whatever, and then we'll probably bail for the show. So to start off, normal Sunday game, if there is a normal Sunday game. We play them at home, which is really the biggest advantage that we have in this game.
Absolutely.
We haven't lost at home. And we didn't have Will Levis the last time we played the Colts.
This is true.
I mean, we had him. We just weren't playing him. So Will Levis at home is an important stat. The reason for that is because he has 2 wins, 0 losses, 110 and a half quarterback rating, 65 completion percentage, and a 4-0 touchdown interception. That's stellar, man.
Yeah.
For any quarterback, I don't care really who you're talking about or what team you're talking about. That is stellar play.
Yep. Yeah, he seems to be really comfortable at Nissan Stadium. I don't know if it's just the lack of travel he has to do or the fans, which I'll say credit to the fans this year. I've been really impressed, especially with a team with a losing record. The fans continue to show up, and that's a lot of the reason why they've stayed undefeated. And I think that's a lot of the reason Levis has been able to come in and really get comfortable in Nissan Stadium.
I agree, man. There is definitely a difference when you play for a sold-out crowd than when you play for crickets.
Yep.
A huge difference in that. So let's talk a little bit about Titans versus Colts rankings. As far as the offensive rankings go, not extremely happy about it. Titans offense ranks in the passing number 26 with 181 yards a game average. Colts rank number 18th with 220. Our rushing offense is ranked 21st with 102 yards. Theirs is 11th with 121 yards. Red zone is 31st with with a 31% success rate. Colts are number 8
Yeah.
with a 60% success rate. Let's hope they don't get to the red zone too often.
Yep.
Third down offense, ours is 29th with a 31.8%. Theirs is 19th with 37.7%. Are you seeing a trend here, guys?
Yeah.
Overall, our offense is ranked number 28th in the NFL with 284 yards per game. Theirs is ranked 15th with 341 yards per game. So we come to basically their offense is much better than ours. And their rushing offense is particularly what killed us last time we saw them.
Yeah. And it wasn't Jonathan Taylor.
No.
Yeah.
Enough. No, it was, I think it was his first game back, though.
Was.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was his very first game back. So they kind of eased up on his carries, although he did not get very many yards per carry on the carries.
No.
I understand why they didn't give him a lot, but the Colts rushed for 193 yards against us last time. That cannot happen if we want to win this game.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a big point I had is, with him out, you can't let Zach Moss have another career day because that's what he did. I mean, he had a career day. I feel like this is going to be a very physical game, and I feel like the more physical team is going to win this. That's on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. But yeah, you got to shut that down. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons, Tier Tart, Danico Autry, I mean, they've really got to stuff the front of that lineup. And normally we're talking about Derrick Henry getting to the second level. You can't let Zach Moss, of all people, get to that second level because he absolutely shredded them in week 5.
Yeah, man, he had a long of 56 yards.
Yeah.
7.2 average.
Yep.
And 165 yards.
Yep.
That is insane.
Yep.
Although I do have to bring up that I was on Twitter earlier and I came across a story of a young man, Charm Sports Twitter account. He had a really cool story about Tier Tart. I didn't realize it, but Tier Tart was not in the game the last time we played him. And we all know that Tier Tart is a force to be reckoned with in the running.
Yep.
So without him, our defense was pretty porous to the run. With him, we'll see how that changes in this game. I think it'll make a pretty big difference. He as well obviously thought it would make a big difference. By the way, if you don't follow him, you probably should. Bright young man.
Yeah, and just to kind of build on that, a key stat looking back to that, we had 0 tackles for loss. 0. I mean, that in itself, if you're not hitting somebody behind the line of scrimmage an entire 60 minutes, it's really tough to win football games. I mean, that's a key.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that speaks volumes for itself right there.
Yep.
This was one of the games that I was like shaking my head going, where's our defensive line? Where's our front 7 that we were so excited to see this year?
Absolutely.
They showed up last game for sure.
Yep.
So we'll see if they have matured into the season, maybe gelled a little bit better, understand everybody's strengths, weaknesses, as far as and that goes for players and defensive coordinator. I mean, you get a new guy in there like Aziz, not really sure if he can handle, certain pass coverages or anything like that. So you test him and you see how he does. Maybe he does well, maybe he really doesn't. I don't, as far as I'm concerned, Aziz has done pretty darn well at everything.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he's projected to finish with like 158 tackles or something like that, which is astonishing for any linebacker. I think that might actually lead the league by the end of the season, but we'll see.
Yep, agreed. And then I will say on the flip side, the Colts, they are allowing 129.3 rush yards per game. I think Tennessee had, 80-something, 89 in their first matchup. So if you can stop the run and then get your run game going. I mean, I know it sounds simple, but this could come down to a simple game. I mean, if you can get Henry going, if you can get Spears going early, especially early, and then stop them, force some punts. Tennessee right now is 4th in forced punts. So, if the defense can get off the field, establish a run game, I feel like it could be not smooth sailing, but I feel like you could give yourself a leg up early.
Yeah, and I'm also interested to see who's going to start at right tackle.
Yeah.
I'm really because I'm pretty sure they're going to leave Dillard. Or I mean, Dillard. Oh my God! Please no. They're going to leave Duncan at left tackle, so I'm pretty sure of that. It's just who's going to start at right tackle. Are they going to change it again, or are they going to leave it the same?
Yep.
The way I see it, the way Derrick Henry performed behind the line last week, I would say let them build on what they got. Yep. But I understand if they want to bring. I can't think of his name right now. Brunskill? No, it's not Brunskill.
Well, I drew a blank too.
Yeah, all right. Whatever his name. Hubbard.
Yeah,
that's his
Hubbard.
name.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yep.
My goodness. He had actually really good PFF grades, if that really means anything. I bring up PFF grades because, man, I don't really understand. I mean, I get it. I understand how the metrics are drawn and stuff, but I don't know if it really shows the performance. If you read a tape, it's much different than reading, I guess, any stats like that, though. Sorry, it's rambling a little bit about stats. But simply, we're going to talk about the defense now.
Yep.
Passing defense, Titans are ranked 19th with 224 yards. Allowed, Colts are 17th with 223 yards. Pretty darn close there. The rushing defense, 15th on the Titans, 110 yards. 26th on the Colts, 129 yards. So maybe if we block better like we did last week, like you said, Link, we can build a run game and get up on them. It looks like that's where their weakness on the defense is. Oh, what's this? Oh, our red zone defense. Yeah. That's something we can be proud of. We're ranked number 4th in the NFL with a 39.5%. The opponent's score on us 39.5%. I didn't say that very good. The Colts are ranked 16th with a 52.9% touchdown allowed rate. The third downs, 20th on the Titans, 39.7%. 15th on the Colts, 38.4%. Overall, defenses, 20th on the Titans, 335.5 yards. The Colts are number 23, 353.6 yards. Given up.
Yeah, one stat you didn't mention that really stood out to me is Tennessee is 31st in total takeaways. I mean, they're just not.
I thought I'd leave that out, but okay.
Yeah, they're just not creating opportunities for turnovers, and that's got to change. I mean, the Colts have 11 interceptions, 3 by Blackman, 3 by Kenny Moore. And Tennessee, they're just not finding those opportunities. And I'm not sure if it's an issue of not getting the pressure on the quarterback. I mean, the last time they played, I think there was 2 quarterback pressures against the Colts. I feel like you've got to get that push up front. You've got to put Minshew in uncomfortable positions and then create those turnovers, just like last week where we played complementary football. Turnovers should lead to points, and points leads to wins. And I feel like they've got to find a way to scheme up some pressure to start impacting and get that turnover ratio up.
Am I wrong, or I just thought of this? I wish I'd have thought of it earlier so I could have looked it up and know I was right. But am I wrong in the fact that this was the game where Amani Hooker got a turnover off the initial kickoff? Was that the Colts?
That was the Saints. I think that was the first game of the year. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was like the first kickoff of the year. Amani Hooker pulls the fumble. Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yep.
Point is that Amani Hooker has been our turnover machine.
Yeah. Yep.
Really. I mean, if anybody's going to be called that now that Mayor Murfreesboro is gone,
Yeah.
then it's going to be Amani Hooker or Roger McCreary. Roger McCreary has an eye for the ball too.
He does.
So I would really hope that he's playing tomorrow and 100%. And I would also hope that Amani Hooker is on his game tomorrow. Because, yeah, if we can get some turnovers, you make a very good point there. Our turnover ratio has been terrible this year. I was saying it the first couple weeks, but I kind of laid off on it because it was just a little ridiculous to a point. But we haven't created a lot of turnovers. We got that last week, and it led to a touchdown.
Yep.
So, and that's how you play complementary football, people.
Yep.
So, yeah, defense playing better makes the offense play better and vice versa.
Yep. Yeah, and you mentioned Roger McCreary. He also had the only sack against the Colts in the last game. So, I mean, that's huge. Another guy that stands out to me, and I know people are tired of hearing about it, and I'm tired of talking about it, is Christian Fulton. I feel like these are his stats in the last Colts game. And this is when I feel like the switch was kind of flipped in the wrong direction when you started seeing some of the mistakes from him. But there was 5 targets against him. 4 of those were catches. He allowed 82 yards. The big one that stands out is he allowed 20.5 yards per catch and 2 penalties. I mean, you're not just getting beat, but you're getting beat for chunk plays, for explosive plays, for momentum changing plays. I understand he's going to give up some catches, but you can't give up momentum. And I feel like that's what happened in that game with him. And then once he got beat once or twice, it was in his head. So I think McCreary should be a standout, but I also feel like Christian Fulton has to show up. And that's the key for Christian Fulton this week is just show up and do your job.
I agree with you. But I do have to say that I feel like Christian Fulton plays a little bit better when Sean Murphy Bunting's out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I will say he walked off the field that day smoking like a briquette on a barbecue.
Yeah.
Poor guy. He was burnt up.
Yeah.
But he's been that way a couple games this season. If we're being honest, I think it's Christian Fulton's last season as a Titan. I don't see them re-signing him, even if he has stellar games from now until the end of the season.
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
And I agree. But, in the back of his mind, you got to think, okay, I'm performing for another job at this point.
I was going to say, you're auditioning for your next team, homie. You need to step it up.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to see from him is just some fight. I mean, I just feel like he's had, again, going back a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, he has some moments, but there's just been no consistency from him in coverage. And that's what gets me. And that's what other NFL teams are looking at. If you're going to not be a Titan and if you're going to go somewhere else, okay, show me you're going to be consistent. And he hasn't proven that this year at all.
Well, to be honest, that's I mean, you hear that from me a lot. That's the biggest problem with the Titans players across the board is consistency.
Yep.
I was talking about that last show with Chigakonkwo. If you can just get us that 45 yards on 4 receptions, that's good, man. That's all we need. If you can do that every game or average that a game, that's all we need.
Yep.
But, consistent performance has definitely been a problem in the Titans facility, and it will continue to be a problem until we correct whatever's going on. I did see a troubling tweet today, and I don't know if it's just a lack of knowledge of football or if it's just wishful thinking. But one of my pretty regulars said something that just got to me. He said, the reason people are angry about Will Levis isn't the fact that Will Levis is playing bad or they want him to play bad. It's because the Titans were just a quarterback away from being elite.
Yeah.
And now we have a good quarterback and we're still not elite.
Yep.
And I said, basically, anybody who thinks that is just not educated in football. And I don't mean to be mean about that or anything. It's just if you don't see other glaring problems on this team, like the lack of receiving talent, the horrible O-line that we're dealing with, the lack of secondary talent. We traded away our best defensive back.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's, a scratch against the team. That was our point of when we said this season's pretty much done. We're just kind of hanging on to see what we got in our players.
Yeah.
See where everybody fits. That's why I say I try not to judge on game outcomes. I try to judge on individual player performances and what they do in the game. And like I said, Christian Fulton, I don't think is one of those players we're going to be signing next year.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And, I see the point there in a way that, this team has got so close so many times. And you did, like, going back to the Bengals game in the playoffs. I mean, if Tannehill doesn't throw those picks, what could have been. So I see the reference, but this isn't the same team. This isn't the same team who was only missing a quarterback. I mean, you had a better offensive line. You had a better secondary. You had a better receiving core, arguably. I feel like nobody has really came forward to become that X factor player, and Levis can't do that by himself. I mean, when he doesn't have time to throw, when he's under pressure, when he's taking hits, I mean, it's tough to be that elite guy. I mean, Patrick Mahomes isn't Patrick Mahomes with this offensive line. It's just it's a simple fact. So yeah, I mean, I can see where that point's coming from, but this isn't the same team. And, going forward, they're going to build, they're going to fix it. I truly believe that. I feel like Levis is going to be, I'm not ready to say elite yet, but I think he's going to be a good quarterback for this team. I'm still waiting to see that elite level. I think his ceiling is much higher than his floor is. I'll put it that way. So we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, I mean, it's not the same team, and you're going to have to put some pieces around him for this to be a winning, a successful, a Super Bowl contending team.
Yeah, I mean, that's another big thing that's going around, is people are being quite negative about Will Levis. And I don't really understand why. Most rookies go through a lot of turmoil. And I love people that say, well, he's pretty much just like gift wrapped a bunch of interceptions that people just didn't catch. Well, it doesn't matter because they didn't catch them.
That's true.
I mean, like I said, I'll change my tune if he gets 3 interceptions in a game. I'll be like, whoa, Levis, you need to, reel it in. Maybe take a little bit more time before you throw that ball. Stop looking down your receivers. Whatever the problem I see is, probably looking down the receivers. But whatever the problem is, I want it corrected. But until they start hauling those in, I'm not really worried about them.
Yeah.
It's just the way I feel.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem like a guy who makes a lot of the same mistakes over and over and over. And that's a key to me too, is you can kind of see his growth and development from his now. I mean, granted, he came in and had a stellar first game. I mean, it's tough to match what he did in his first game, but just the kind of the thought processes and the comfortability in the pocket. I mean, it seems like now he's really starting to get a feel for it. He's got a good sense of pressure. We'll see what the ankle's about. I know there's been some talk in the injury report, some practice notes. I don't see that as a huge deal yet. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I feel like he's grown. I feel like he's developing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'll say this, man. A lot of what I grade a quarterback on is how they prepare.
Yeah.
There's only a couple quarterbacks that I can think of in the past that have prepared a lot like Will Levis has. Let me say that backwards. Will Levis is preparing like those quarterbacks did. And, I don't want to mention the quarterbacks because they're obviously on a way other pedestal than he is. But he's still a rookie, and I mean, you look at the rookie numbers of any quarterback, whether it be Brett Favre, Peyton Manning,
Yeah.
Tom Brady. I don't think Tom even started a game as a rookie. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think he started until he was 2 or 3 years into the league.
Yep.
When Bledsoe got hurt.
Yep.
But my point is a lot of these quarterbacks don't produce right away. And Will Levis seems to be producing. Justin, just in case you're just joining us, we already answered that. We do think that Burks is going to play.
Yeah, not to get away
Or
from
I
it.
do.
Yeah, he's still in concussion protocol, technically. Mike Vrabel's comments, basically what he said was they're just waiting for that final blessing from the doctor. I think he could very well be on a limited snap count. I don't think you'll see a lot of him, but I do think he'll suit up and be available. And that's a huge thing. Just I don't want to get away from what you were just talking about, but going back to that injury report, I can't remember the last time none of the 53 active players was not ruled out of a game. Yeah, I mean that's kind of huge. But yeah, just to answer your question, I do think Burks will suit up. I think he'll be out there. It hasn't been confirmed one way or another. He still lists as questionable, but yeah, in my opinion, if I was having a bet on it, I think he'll be there.
I would think that as well. Yeah,
Yep.
I don't see any reason. It's just a long time to be out.
Yeah.
For just a concussion.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not just a concussion, I understand they should, and sometimes they don't always be 100% forthcoming with the injury report,
Right.
or they exaggerate or under exaggerate injuries. So, I don't know, maybe he had a neck strain or something like that. They don't really want to disclose, but 5 weeks seems a lot for a concussion.
It does. Now, granted, I think this is his third or fourth since he's been with the team. So, I mean, anytime you've got over 2 or 3 concussions, they're going to be a little bit more cautious, which I can understand that. I do know
for a young guy like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do know that he switched over. I saw something where he's wearing the Q collar now, which is supposed to really help with the neck, the head, all that stuff. So I think that's something to watch. I don't know. I really, going back to Burks, I really want him to step up and be the guy. He hasn't shown me yet that he can be. But I mean, I think it's still there. I think he still has the potential. I don't think he's A.J. Brown. I will never think he is A.J. Brown. And I feel like that's been a huge knock on him because he was brought in. I mean, the team brought him in as A.J. Brown's replacement. It's a fact. I mean, they did. They traded the picks. They picked him. He's never going to be an A.J. Brown, but he can be a good number 2 receiver given the opportunity. I think that the potential is there. He's just got to go take it.
That's where me and you disagree. Because I feel like he had the opportunity this season as the number 2 receiver to come in and be that guy. But unfortunately, he's been so unavailable or just not performing when he is in the game. He is not very high on our receiving list.
Yeah, and I'll rephrase a little bit. I think he has the metrics to be a number 2 receiver. He has the physicality, he has the size, and we've seen he has the hands.
And the hands, yeah. He's good.
But we saw like the concussion he got against Philly. For him to hold on to that ball after basically getting knocked out, I mean, that shows some moxie. So I think he has the physical attributes to be a number 2 receiver. He just hasn't shown that he has the experience or the skill up to this point to live up to that standard. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's kind of like my argument as to why are they not playing Colton Dow? Because he has all the metrics, you know, right. And he's also intelligent. We know that because of the interviews during training camp with Burks about where he was telling him that he would ask him plays on the team. You know, I mean, that's pretty insane when, you know, the number 1, number 2 guy, whatever you want to call him, is coming to the brand new rookie that was drafted in the 7th round, asking him, "Hey man, which route is it that I run again?" So obviously he has all the tools. They just, for some reason, have not utilized him. And Titans have always been that way with rookie wide receivers, I guess. I guess with a couple of exceptions when they drafted really high. But other than that, they've always been kind of that way. So,
Well, and I will say this. I've noticed with Tennessee over the years, they tend to put these up and coming wide receivers in special team positions to kind of make them earn their keep and earn that roster spot. Um, Colton Dowell had a huge special teams play last week. That tackle he made to kind of stop them, I think it was like the 12, 13-yard line to hit them. I mean, and I would not be surprised if Burks is on a pretty low snap count this week. I would not be surprised to see some reps from Colton Dowell because I don't know what happened to Kyle Phillips, but they basically just decided they're not going to play him at this point. I don't know if that changes this week, but if it doesn't, I think you see Colton Dowell getting some of those reps that Burks would get were he not on a limited snap count or out. We still don't know that he's playing for sure yet. But with him showing up last week, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes some reps at wide receiver.
yeah, I don't know what it is about that young man. I just want to see him succeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has all, like I said, he's got all the tools. He's built like a football guy.
Yeah.
He's very football intelligent. And he comes from a small school. Maybe that's why I'm rooting for him so hard. I've always been an underdog guy. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the Titans. And before the Titans, I rooted for the Bills in like the 90s. So, yeah, it's rough go for me, man. That's why I'm not a big fan of the boys. Because they kind of owned us for a while.
Yeah. Yep.
Not kind of, they did.
Yeah.
Justin had another good question about another player that we were kind of talking about pre-game. We haven't mentioned during the show. There was a video going around Twitter where Levis was limping around after a rollout, and the videos that I saw, I didn't really see anything that I would be worried about. However, I think you had some concerns.
Yeah, the one that got me. Now I've seen the rollout where he takes the rollout. It looks like he's limping a little bit. I don't put as much towards that one. The one that kind of concerned me, and it was a side-by-side shot of him early in training camp versus now. And it was basically a shuffle where he does the shuffle, drops back, throws a pass. If you notice a little bit on the one from, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but either way, it looks like he has some trouble kind of stepping into that throw. Now, again, it was one shot, one rep, and one drill. I haven't seen the whole practice. Nobody has because they play everything kind of close to the vest. But just watching that one where he kind of steps in and has trouble, he kind of pulls that foot back a little bit. Being the kind of passer he is, wanting to take those 20, 30-yard shots downfield, if you can't step into those throws and all of a sudden you're underthrowing it, that kind of puts yourself in a bad position to throw those interceptions, to cause those pass deflections, to kind of bring up those tip drill scenarios. And again, I'm not going to put a lot of credence in it till I see him actually take the start and I see him make one of those passes. Just something to kind of watch starting out on Sunday. I'll be curious to see the first drive. That'll kind of tell you a lot about how comfortable they are with that ankle. If it's super run heavy, they might be pulling back a little bit. If they come out and they come out strong and they want to start throwing the ball to kind of throw the ball to open up the run game, I feel like we're okay. So again, yeah, I mean, he was limited. He did have an ankle. He was listed as questionable on Wednesday. He was not on the injury report today. It was just that video that came out.
Yeah, and that's the other but we've talked before about how they don't really disclose, sometimes under exaggerate injuries. So
yeah,
I mean, is it completely out of the realm of possibility that he could be injured and they're just kind of covering it up or hiding it or what? Nah, it's not out of the realm of possibility. But I consider Will Levis to be a pretty darn tough quarterback. I'm interested to see, a lot of people online are questioning, why you would start Levis if he's possibly injured or maybe a little gimpy. And I understand that. That's fair. We're known for injury proneness. But the argument to that is, after having a franchise with Jake Locker, Zach Mettenberger, Rusty Smith, we've had some pretty big swing and misses too.
Yep.
So after going through that, I say we just want to make sure as much as we possibly can that Will Levis is definitely the guy to carry our franchise into the next evolution of our team. Because if he's not, we need to know by this draft.
Absolutely. I was going to say, yep.
We can draft somebody who can maybe contend with him or push him to be better. You know what I'm saying? That there has to be a confidence in Will Levis at the end of this season by the coaches in the front office that that's our guy. Yeah. And if he's not, then we got to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean that's a huge part for me is you're going into a draft where you may be picking pretty high, with a lot of quarterback talent. I mean, there's a lot of talent coming out in this draft, and to figure out what you've got in him, and hey, if he comes out and continues performing the way he does behind this offensive line, I don't think he leaves a lot of question as to whether he's the guy or not. But again, you have to figure that out. And I say it every week, and I sound like a broken record, but the pressures are not going to get any easier. I mean, the Colts in week 5 with Tannehill, he was pressured 47% of the snaps that he took. And that's, if anything, that number is going to go up because they're going to be bringing blitzes and they're not a huge blitzing team, but you can bet against this offensive line, they're going to be bringing some pressure at any point.
They're definitely going to test it.
Yeah. So, I mean, and he's going to continue getting tested throughout the year. And I understand that you're kind of putting him in a position of, okay, he could get hurt. But if you look at his stature and who he is as a quarterback, I mean, he's a tough dude. And I mean, if
it's football.
That's right. And if anybody can go out there and take those hits and stand in the pocket and deliver the throws, it's him. I mean, he's got a strong arm. Even when he's getting hit, he's putting the ball roughly where it needs to be. So yeah, I mean, I say keep playing him. I don't see any reason to hold out a rookie for risk of possible injury. That to me just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I read a comment from one of the guys that I regularly go back and forth with on Twitter. We have good conversation. I'm not going to name him, but he was saying, if you don't know who your quarterback is by December, then, you probably aren't going to roll with him, or you're lying to yourself, one or the other. And I get what he's saying. However, this is only his 5th game. Yeah. Or is it his 6th? I can't remember. I think it's his 5th game. Point is he's still very early. He hasn't even played half of a season, full season yet. Yeah. So I don't see how you can say, oh, well, that's our guy or that's not our guy. 100%. I'm not 100%. I mean, I'm really high on him. Don't get me wrong. I'm very, very positive. I even tweeted out earlier, I cannot wait to see where this kid's ceiling is.
Yep.
I think it's way up there. I don't want to name any names or compare him to any people, but let's just say I think that he might be one of the best quarterbacks to play in the AFC South. And that's a huge statement to make. But I think his ceiling is high enough that he could get there.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what the kid can do. Also, I think he has the potential to be a huge flop.
Yep.
So I'm not saying I'm anointing the kid or anything like that. I'm saying right now, under what I see right now, as a rookie quarterback in the NFL with the speed that they play at and the defenses he has to try to read, get the ball out within 2 seconds before he's hit as he's throwing the ball.
Yep.
And he's still accurate.
Yep.
That's a good quarterback. It's definitely something to build on. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, and one thing that I like to bring up is with rookie quarterbacks, I don't remember who said it, but it was in their rookie year, the first year, they're trying to learn the scheme. They're trying to learn how the NFL works. They're trying to learn the speed of the game. In their second year, that's when they learn how to fit and be successful in that scheme. And I think you'll see a bigger jump coming into next year if he is the guy. I think you're going to see a much bigger jump in what he's capable of, not just because he has more weapons, not just because he has a better offensive line, but because you've got that full not a full year of game experience, but you've got a full year of the system experience. You're starting to learn your preparation, like you said earlier. You're starting to learn, um, how to go through your progressions, because it's not the same as college. I mean, everything is just one step quicker. Defensive linemen are quicker. Offensive linemen are supposed to be better, but this year they're not. I mean, he's basically going in with, and I'll say it, he's going in with a second string offensive line. I mean, I don't know that anybody on this offensive line right now, other than Skoronski, would be a starter anywhere else in the league.
I'll say this, and then we'll try to wrap it up. But Will Levis, he's not only, like I said, he's not only performing behind a terrible offensive line, but his number 2 wide receiver is Chris Moore.
Yeah.
Who looks to have a career season with the Titans, even though, I mean, that tells you something right there. But you have DeAndre Hopkins, then you have this huge fall off.
Yeah.
To Chris Moore or Treylon Burks, however you want to say, whoever's our number 2. And then NWI.
Yep.
I don't know. NWI might actually be number 2 in receiving. Right
it
now.
Is by 1 yard. Westbrook-Ikhine has 281. Chris Moore has 280.
That is sick. I have a problem. Something is wrong with me that I can just pull that out. But anyway.
Now, here, I will, just before you say anything else, here's what blows my mind. Westbrook-Ikhine has 281 with 24 catches. You want to guess what Chris Moore's catches are with 280 yards?
13?
12.
So
more explosive, more yardage, more catches downfield.
Absolutely.
That's what's huge to me.
Again, you're going to hear it from me a lot, but I really wish he could consistently do that.
Yeah.
If he can consistently just get those chunk plays, man, yep, you'll have 2 receptions for 60-something yards every game.
Yep.
So at the end of the season, you're going to look stellar.
Yeah.
You're going to have 1,200, 1,500 yards.
Yep.
So, that's the little things. And that's really it. We got little things we need to get corrected. And until we get a better line, better secondary, and maybe some better scheme,
yep,
we're not going to get there. We just can't get there, folks.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough. And I'll say this too, Chigakonkwo. He is leading the team right now, or he's second on the team right now in targets. And he's not even cracking the top 3 in receptions. And that to me, the drops are a big deal. But he was supposed to be a playmaker at the tight end position. Yeah. And now you're seeing guys like Zach Ertz out of Arizona being released. And I find myself sitting here wondering, okay, do we go tight end next year? Do we have to look at better options? Because Chig was supposed to be that guy, and he just hasn't been. That's a big part for me.
Yeah, man. No, I totally agree with you. Said it earlier in the season. Chig's got to steal Wiley's got to steal some of those Chig touchdown attempts.
Yeah.
Because Chig's just not getting it done.
Yeah.
By far, the biggest disappointment for me this season is Chig. Well, I don't know. Treylon was pretty bad too.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure who the bigger disappointment is. It's going to be either Chig or Treylon Burks. It's on offense, though. I guarantee you that.
Well, mine has to be Chig just because he's been on the field and not been successful. I mean, Treylon Burks, you can sit there and say, well, Treylon Burks hasn't been there, which is a disappointment in itself, but he hasn't even had the opportunities because he can't get on the field. Chig's getting on the field. He's getting the snaps, and he's dropping passes and not performing. So mine is 100% Chig on biggest letdown of the season.
Yeah, and I kind of got into a little back and forth with somebody else on social media, and that's the point I was trying to make, is it's not about – you can chip all day long. You can say he's chipping and he's not getting open all day long. Okay, explain the drops.
Yeah.
Where he's wide open.
Yep.
Nobody's around him. Hits him right in the hands, and he bricks it.
Yeah. Yep.
Look, I love Chigakonkwo. I loved him last season, and I think the reason that we all got excited was he came on real hot at the end of last season. Was very consistent at the end of last season. Last 4 games, he was extremely productive. So we all kind of thought it would carry over into this season and he would be extremely productive. You know, maybe he was just breaking out from his rookie, but no. Unfortunately, he's got a big sophomore slump.
Yep.
I don't know if we let him go after this season. I think it's a very good possibility, though, because he's not the greatest blocker in the world. And if Wiley can be just as good of a receiver, that's a little iffy, man. It is.
Well, and not only, I mean, I think Wiley's got potential, but every guy on the roster right now, other than 3 or 4 guys, have to be a little bit concerned because anytime a team goes into the offseason with $100+ million in cap space, your job is not safe because there are going to be guys that have performed better than you probably in the most recent year that are going to be available. So if I'm Chig, I'm not just looking at Wiley, I'm looking around the league at these free agents and I'm thinking, well, crap. I mean, here I was underperforming all season, and now these guys are available. So yeah, I mean, I feel like everybody on this roster, you're playing for a job next year, 100%. I mean, the rest of this season, you should be nothing but to the wall, trying to earn your keep because this team, and I don't think they're scared to move on from some of these guys. I really don't.
No, especially Robinson guys. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't like using that term. You know, oh, this guy is not a Rand Carthon guy.
Right.
I don't really think that matters. It really matters on performance. Yep. You know, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been a manager of a lot of different places. When you come into a position like that, especially when you're hired in as a manager and you have to manage these people, yeah, you got to look at what you got. You know, you don't necessarily just discount them because they were the last guy's people. They might be excellent performers, but you literally go on nothing but performance based.
Yep.
At that point, because you have no tie to him.
Yep.
Well, I didn't draft the guy, so I don't really care if we drop him in his sophomore season, or I mean, his junior season, whatever.
Yep.
Third year, if we let go, hey, whatever. It's not on me because I didn't draft the guy. Rand Carthon could look at it that way. I mean, it's not unreasonable.
Yeah, you're right.
Although he brought in Trayvon Wesco. Sorry, I couldn't get that out.
Yeah.
And he's been terrible. So
that's true.
You know, but hey, he's hit a lot more than he's missed. So I'm not bad-mouthing Rand or anything like that. I'm just saying that personally, for me, all the John Robinson picks are on very short leashes.
Yeah, I agree.
Farley would have been gone this year if he didn't, if he wasn't getting paid $2 million automatically.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players that I think would have been gone had they not been on rookie contracts and been extremely cheap. If they would have been on veteran contracts, actually getting paid what John Robinson thought they were worth, oh my God.
Yeah.
We'd be in salary cap hell again, looking at the whole 2002 season all over again.
100% right. Yep. Absolutely.
And with that, we'll try to wrap up. Unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
No, we can start it. I will say before we do predictions, I like doing that whole who's your X factor this week. So who you got this week? Who you hoping to step up, offense or defense? Either way, who you thinking?
All right. If I have to pick someone who's going to make a real impact in the game, I'm going to say Jalen Duncan.
Okay.
I'm going to say that he's going to be much improved from his first game. He's going to have a much better game this time. And Will Levis is going to get maybe a half second average more or maybe a full second more to survey that field. And that might be the difference.
Hey,
right there.
1 second back there is a long time. I mean, that's the difference in a 50-yard shot and a sack and loss of 15. So yeah, yep,
Yeah,
I like
and
it.
as that game progressed, our offensive line did get a
They
little
did.
bit better.
Yep, yep.
Who you
Um,
got?
I'm gonna get a little crazy with this one. So I'm gonna go back to last game. Josh Downs, who was the leading receiver for the Colts in Week 5. Going back and watching that tape this week, what I noticed is they were doing a really good job. The Titans were trying to blitz. They were doing a really good job of picking that blitz up and getting Josh Downs lined up with Gibbons. And that's a lot of the reason he had such a big game was because Gibbons just wasn't able to cover him in the pass protection. I'm looking at Kayvon Wallace to come down from that spot and start to cover some of those receivers, some of those tight ends. I think he can make a play. Him and Amani Hooker both. I'm going to be watching both of them, depending who gets more snaps. But he had some big tackles last week. I think he might get a turnover this week. So we'll see. We will see. Whether it be a forced fumble or an interception, we will see.
To be honest, as many times as he was hitting people last week, I would not be surprised by that. I was really shocked at how well he came in and just started just laying the wood, man.
Yeah.
And he did it the entire game. I was really impressed with him. And, man, I hope you're right.
Well, and those are the guys that Vrabel loves. And that's why I think he's going to get a little bit higher snap count because he wants those physical players who are going to go out and not be scared to make tackles and not be scared to punch at the ball. And I think his snap counts go up a little bit this week, and I think he makes a big play.
Yeah, I mean, think about it this way, man. Hooker and Byard.
Yeah.
They're not exactly – neither one of them's really a strong safety. I mean, yeah, Hooker's supposed to be, but is he really? He plays like a free safety.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Yep.
Kayvon Wallace plays like a strong safety.
Yeah.
He comes in there not afraid to stick his nose in there, make the big hit. Man, he had some really good hits last week. So, yeah, I agree. I think if you have him as a solid strong safety, then Amani Hooker can be a true free safety.
Yep.
Maybe come up with that turnover we were talking about earlier. You might be right there. I mean, he might be the impact player. We got another good question here before we go real quick. Or a good statement, I should say. And that is true.
Yep.
That is absolutely true. Last week we especially on offense. On defense we didn't so much. We pretty much were consistent last week on defense for once. But our offense was one-sided for sure. We did everything in the first half, much like we did last year. Don't want to do that again. So I would like to see us, score consistently throughout the game. We're at home, so we got a good chance of that. Let's get down to predictions.
Yes, sir.
You go first.
I've struggled with this one. The Colts, they're allowing 24.4 points per game. That's 27th in the NFL. But they're scoring 24.5. So they are very balanced in what they do as far as scoring on offensive defense.
Yep.
I do think the Titans get at least 20 this week. I'm going to say it's a close one. It's a physical game. Titans 20, Colts 17.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's going to be a close one. Nick Folk, step up.
I might be a little more nuts than you. I don't know. I think the Titans, they've averaged something like 25 or 23 points per home game, something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Very close. I know I'm right on the money, but not right on the money, but I'm pretty darn close with a point or two. So I think we're gonna outperform our own average this week. I can't say 24 because that would be close to our average, and I'm not saying that anymore. So I'm gonna just bump it up and say 28.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're gonna go 28-21 Titans. Like you said, it's gonna be a close game. I think it really comes down to some key defensive plays.
Yep.
And being able to control the clock.
Yep.
I hate saying that because, it's old school football, but it is true. I mean, if you control the clock on offense, then your defense gets time to rest and can play better. And the other offense doesn't have chances to score.
Absolutely.
Simple strategy. So we'll see. Obviously, I want me to be right, but I also want me to be right because if it's 24-21, we'll have a lot more action.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I'd really like to see the defense get a turnover too. That would be fantastic. But the Colts aren't very turnover happy either. Anyway, unless you have any last thoughts.
I think we're good. Again, big matchup this Sunday. If you win, the future's that much brighter. If you lose, not really much to play for the rest of the season. So I mean, we'll see what happens. But yeah, let's go get it.
Yeah, man. I think that's part of the reason why we're going to play good from the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I know I said we might lose out or whatever, and we might. I don't know. I change my mind every other week. And that's my right. But honestly, I think, the best thing you can do as a coach right now is just tell all your players, man, you've got nothing to lose.
Go have fun.
We're expected to fail anyway. So if you fail, no big deal. Get out there, have fun, play the best of your abilities. See what we can do. See if we can ruin some other people's chances at getting to the playoffs.
Wouldn't it be sweet to knock out the Colts? I mean, just if it came down to this game that decided them missing it, I mean that'd be huge.
Yeah, you are correct. That would be our season high on offense. Yes.
Yep.
That would be our season high. I know I'm reaching for the stars there, man, but I'm going for it. I think that it's very possible. Like I said, all we got to do is control the clock and not give up those big chunk plays that we did. Stop the run. We're pretty good.
Undefeated at Nissan. Scream it from the rooftops.
That's right. And I'm interested to see, like you said earlier, about the the fan turnout. We've had great audiences so far at home. Let's keep that up, Titans fans. Way to go. If they don't know where you're at or where to find you by now, Link, they should be ashamed of themselves, but let them know where to find you, brother.
You can find me on Twitter at Link Rogers. You can also find me on Facebook with the same name. I'm with Titans Global Podcast. Make sure to go to the YouTube, like, subscribe, follow. Always big. We're trying to grow, guys. We want y'all to be a part of it as much as we are. So give me a shout. Love to talk Titans and tighten up.
Absolutely. Did want to mention real quick, we got some cool guests coming up, so don't miss any of our shows. Otherwise, you might miss one of the cool guests. As always, you know where to find me. Titans Global Podcast is on everything: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. YouTube's obviously where I want you to go, but anywhere you find me is great. If you want to follow me personally, Maximus Titan Fan, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, Maximus Titan Fan. That's it. Everybody, thank you for coming and joining us and just chilling out with us tonight. Tighten up. Peace out.
Tighten up.